The old map of global power is being torn up, and while the giants are busy fighting over the pieces, a new alliance is quietly taking over. For decades, we've been told that middle powers have to pick a side, Washington or Beijing. But what if there's a third path? Between February 27th and March 7th, 2026, Mark Carney didn't just go on a diplomatic tour, he executed a strategic decoupling. This wasn't about handshakes. It was about building a fortress of energy, capital, and technology that doesn't need a superpower's permission to exist. This mission represents the Carney Doctrine in motion, a shift from traditional trade to capital-first economic statecraft. Across 3 nations, the mission secured over $15 billion in new investment commitments, proving that middle powers can be the architects of their own security. The journey began in India, where the air was thick with more than just heat. It was thick with the tension of a relationship that had been frozen for years. Carney ignored the diplomatic drama and went straight for the fuel. He walked out of New Delhi with a $2.6 billion uranium deal between Saskatchewan-based Cameco and India's Department of Atomic Energy. This isn't just a sale, it's a decade-long tether. Canada is now the primary battery for India's goal of 100 gigawatts of nuclear power by 2047. While others talk about green energy, these 2 nations are building it with 22 million pounds of uranium ore concentrates. They didn't stop there. They signed MOUs for metallurgical coal valued at $285 million to fire up India's steel mills and relaunched trade talks to hit $50 billion in bilateral trade by 2030. A massive jump from the $9 billion recorded just a year prior. The underlying reality? You don't need to share a political ideology when you share the same power grid. By anchoring the relationship in nuclear fuel, Canada has made its prosperity a matter of India's national security. In the streets of Mumbai and the tech hubs of Calgary, this is already shifting the ground. HCL Technologies, India's third-largest IT firm, is moving to increase its Canadian workforce by 75% by 2030. They aren't hiring cheap labor, they are building AI centers in Mississauga and Calgary to act as the architects of a new ecosystem. We're seeing a grassroots connection where Indian engineering meets Canadian resources through initiatives like the Tirupati Tri-Institutional Global Innovation Campus. This isn't a brain drain, it's a talent bridge. This is about Viksit Bharat, Developed India meeting, Build Canada Strong. From the heat of India, the mission swung to the red dust and high finance boardrooms of Australia. This is where the Carney Doctrine turned defiant. In Sydney, Carney didn't ask for a trade deal, he unlocked a vault. There is $7 trillion sitting in the retirement funds of Canadian and Australian workers. Usually, that money flows to Wall Street. Carney flipped the switch. He launched the Canadian-Australian Pension Funds Investment Initiative, a first-of-its-kind pact between 18 massive pension and superannuation funds. IFM investors immediately pledged $10 billion for Canadian infrastructure over the next decade. This is nation-building funded by the people, for the people, cutting out the middleman of global volatility. Money is the ultimate form of sovereignty. By pooling the retirement savings of 2 nations, Carney has created a middle power bank that can outspend and outlast the big players. This move has triggered a cultural shift. Australians and Canadians are realizing they are more than just Commonwealth cousins. They are the world's mining and finance titans. They've integrated their defense, moving Australian Jindalee operational radar network, tech to the Canadian Arctic to create an Arctic Oath system. It's a clear message. The North is no longer a playground for superpowers. It is protected by a new, decentralized alliance. Australia also officially joined the Canada-led G7 Critical Minerals Production Alliance, targeting materials like antimony and gallium to diversify away from China. The final leg in Tokyo was a race against time. Japan provides the backbone of Canada's auto industry, with firms like Honda and Toyota responsible for 77% of the light vehicles built there. But with global trade routes fraying, that backbone was at risk. Carney and Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi, who recently won a landslide victory on an economic security platform, signed a comprehensive strategic partnership that acts as a lead shield. They coordinated everything from battery supply chains to maritime security. Canada positioned itself as Japan's stable pantry, already supplying 10% of Japan's caloric intake through wheat and pork, and doubling down on LNG and hydrogen exports to ensure that even if the world goes dark, Japan's lights stay on. In a world of just-in-time supply chains, the only thing that matters is just-in-case reliability. Canada isn't just a trade partner, it's Japan's life insurance policy. On the ground, this means the EV plants in Ontario aren't just surviving, they are becoming the global hub for Japanese innovation. The groundswell of support in Tokyo for Canadian resources isn't about profit, it's about survival. They've even launched a trilateral tech pact with India and Australia, focusing on AI sovereignty. This means the code that runs our future won't be owned by a Silicon Valley giant, but by a trusted circle of allies. This partnership is reinforced by 3 new memorandums of cooperation on maritime security, targeting everything from international emergency evacuations to illegal fishing in the North Pacific. The 2026 mission was a masterclass in economic statecraft. Most analysts expected a collapse of these middle power relationships under global pressure. Instead, Carney triggered a consolidation. He moved from normalization to structured expansion. The power map has been redrawn. Leverage no longer comes from having the biggest army, but from holding the keys to the uranium, the lithium, and the capital that the world needs to survive the next 30 years. They anticipated a collapse. They triggered a consolidation. They saw a resource-rich nation. They found a strategic powerhouse. The world is moving from a system of coercion to a system of connection. Carney is betting on the 3Ds: decarbonization, nuclear and LNG, digitalization, AI sovereignty, and deglobalization, friend-shoring with allies. By mobilizing $10 billion in Australian capital and securing $5.5 billion in Indian contracts, Canada has demonstrated that middle power influence is both sovereign and collaborative. This isn't just a story about a prime minister's travel schedule, it's a story about your pension, your local manufacturing plant, and the energy that powers your home. If you want to track how these $15 billion in deals will impact your local economy and the price of the tech in your pocket, subscribe and join the conversation below. What do you think? Is this the end of superpower dominance or just the beginning of a more dangerous game?